welcome aboard. We are live. This is the Blue Plate Special. We're at the Wharf, Wisdom Harbor Studios here in Orange Beach, Alabama, at the Wharf. And this is, what a destination place the Wharf is. It's beautiful. We have the Marlin sculptures on one end. We also have all over the place. We have the unbelievable escalator statues that you really need to see. You can even walk on them. They're really nice. I'm Andy Andrews, and our guest today is Kevin Williams. Now, you just be still. I'll tell you a little more about Kevin in just a minute. But I wanted to say that are you like doing sign language for me?
Yeah, I'm kind of, it's a little subtle undertones. It'll enhance.
Thank you.
Watch
Okay,
the playback.
good.
You'll enjoy it.
But I did want to say, as we get started today, please, if you're on Facebook, please click that notification and let us, so that you know when we're live. Because if you click that notification button there, when we go live, you will be notified. They will. They'll get you. I think Facebook wakes you up. Or
it does. They send somebody to your house too. Actually, it's an Amazon guy who comes to your house.
Oh, that's good. And if you would share, if you don't mind sharing. I wonder sometimes. I look at this and say, okay, we got 100,000 people watching it, and 60 people share. I'm just not sure. Is this
Sharing
not as
is
good?
The secret.
Is it not as good as I thought it was?
Oh no, it's good. And they teach in kindergarten. Sharing is the secret. So
there you go. And you're not supposed to be talking. I hadn't introduced you yet. Well, I have. Okay, you can talk. You can tell Kevin is a friend of mine. Otherwise, I wouldn't talk to him the way I talk to him. Shh. Hush.
You've been notified.
Yeah, and you can tell this might be kind of silly today too. This is going to be a lot of fun.
So share it now.
I get kind of silly. I'm glad Mark Lowry is not here. This place
He's watching.
Descend. Is he already on?
He's on there somewhere.
Good. Okay, good. Let's see what else. I'm just trying to handle the business at first.
Share.
Once we get started, thank you.
Share alike.
Also, if you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're not watching on YouTube, after we're through, go to YouTube and find Andy Andrews and click that subscription button. It says subscribe. Hey, there's Dan Stone. We're talking about Dan earlier.
That's right.
That's my preacher. Yeah,
Hey,
from the tropical island of Duluth. How about that? and Bonnie Nix. Hey, Bonnie, I got to tell you something in a minute. So we also want you to go to YouTube and just click subscribe. It costs you nothing. And then when you go to YouTube, you can look over and there will be my name. You can click it and you can get on the stuff very quickly, find anything you want on our channel. And that would really help me if you do that. And let's see what, hi to the Instagram people.
Hey, Instagram.
Instagram, it's right there.
IG people.
And the Twitter folks are back here. That's Twitter.
Tweeting.
Twitter world led by Brian Backen.
Yes.
Brian Backen.
Yes.
There's
Christy. We're getting shared.
Yeah, and Judson.
Judson.
Judson is Kevin Perkins' son.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd to me that Judson is a dad now because, I still think of Judson as this little kid in a cowboy suit. And we had Lucy the Dalmatian at that time. And Judson would call Lucy his cow dog. And he would go, yeah, Lucy, yeah. And we'd say, whistle for Judson, and Judson couldn't whistle, and he'd go whip 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 whip. So but that's what. Now he's a dad. So it freaks me out. Bonnie, I just wanted to tell you that I'm drinking tea now by putting Frank's jelly in the tea.
Ooh.
Because I don't have any more of this honey that she got from Japan. It's just unbelievable, and you can't get it.
The Japanese honey is quite superior.
The Japanese bees are. Yeah. I'm thinking because they make it in different flavors. You know? So
how do the bees know what flavor to make it in? That's very interesting.
No idea. And who squeezes the bees to get the honey out of them?
I don't know, but that is the buzz.
Stung pretty bad. That's good. That was very good, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Williams. How long have
Welcome to my show.
Yeah, I've known Kevin for since God was a boy, and
we've known each other.
You look very young to be as old as you are. I'm 83, so I don't think I look quite that old. But but you have been now. Are you? I guess a lot of people would know Kevin because you're one of these kind of people, kind of like me, where everybody, I do so many different things that nobody knows me for anything, Yeah. And I tell somebody the other day, they said, "Wow, you're famous." I said, "Well, I'm not really famous. I'm not the kind of famous that somebody sees in the grocery store and goes, 'Oh, it's Andy Andrews.' I'm the kind of famous that people look at and go, 'Did I go to high school with you?'" I mean, that's the kind of famous I am. But I guess most people would probably know you from being the smart ass on Gaither's stage.
Well, I've been with the Gaithers for 28 years almost now, so that's quite a chunk of my career.
And you're like the band leader, musical director. What would you call yourself?
So on the live dates, I've been band leader for quite some time. I signed on to be a guitar player, and that's all I ever wanted to be. And then, well, that's not entirely true. I did aspire to be a band leader and producer and that kind of thing, and which I've gotten to do. And then on the TV shows we've done down through the years, Ben Spear was our musical director for years, and then a lot of that fell to me in later years on different TV shoots. And Bill is always that title's a bit of a misnomer probably because Bill is such a hands-on producer. He's got the final say-so and all that. But I'm just a master facilitator. If it needs to be done, I do it. I sweep a lot of floors and I lock up at night. So
I love being around Kevin because Kevin and I think a lot alike.
It's really strange.
It is strange, and then we add Mark to our mix or add us to Mark's life. It's pretty funny. But
Mark Lowry is like. So he's watching, but he is one of the strangest, most awesome people you'd ever want to meet. And I worked closely with him for I guess 18 years with a vocal band or something. I don't know how long.
Only seemed like 30, but go ahead.
But just one of the most genuine, wonderful people. And then I got to produce 2 records on Mark, and found out how entirely strangely awesome he is. This brain is always intriguing to me of his, and he's very generous and very loving and warm. And we were doing vocals in the studio one day. And I promise you, he left his car running the whole time we were doing vocals. He was in there, and we sang for about an hour, and he said, "Let's go eat Indian food." And we went outside, and the car's been running the whole time, and it was nice and cool, So we went. You learn people when you go in the studio with them, or when you do their podcast.
And
I've been looking for the pod. Where's the pod?
The shirt looks very nice on you.
Oh, you got me the shirt.
Well, we're wearing, and see, talking about somebody thinking alike. You said something earlier, and I went, "Oh my gosh, hey, you're just old." Is what it is, because these shirts are from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, which is the biggest store at the Wharf. Yeah. I mean, Sand Dollar Lifestyles. They're kind of the cornerstone store of the Wharf. I mean, they're the ones that carry the Kamado Joe's, who's a sponsor of our podcast, the Professional Noticer. But they have so many shirts, and so we're wearing shirts from there.
But you can't see the beauty of the shirt.
I said, so here's a great shirt, and you said, well, the good part is on the back, and I said, I know, Kevin, it's because you're old that you see that, because I say the same thing. Why are you on a shirt that has all this stuff on the back, And
Should we show 'em?
But Austin, let's show them. But Austin and Adam say, Dad, they don't make shirts with stuff on the front anymore. And I'm like, yes, they do. And I was down at Sand Dollar Lifestyles.
They don't make it.
I mean, they must have a million different shirts down there. There's none with anything on the front. I mean, but here's what on the back I have.
I don't know what I have, but that's
yours is
what it is.
Yours is the Gulf Coast thing with that Gulf Coast and the heron.
Yeah.
And
yours says, visit me at kevinwilliamsmusic.com. That's interesting. I like that. That's very nice.
Yes, nice of Sand Dollar Lifestyles.
Really sweet.
Put that on the Salt Marsh shirt.
Yeah. So.
But
really nice.
But it is odd to me that's the deal. Because I've always wondered, it's like, hey, look at my shirt. Look at, read this.
Well, it's like the coffee mug that faces toward you, and nothing is out here, and nobody can enjoy it except you get to see the logo. I don't know. I never understood that. Now they make them double-sided.
Do you know we're having some coffee mugs made for the studio general store out here, whatever we're going to call it. And obviously we're not open out there yet, but we will be soon.
Yeah, this is really cool. If you've not been here, don't come yet.
Yeah, don't come. And so we've got coffee mugs being made that have a Jones quote on this side. So you can see a different Jones quote on that side. And then straight across the handle, it says Jones.
I love that. Just Jones.
Just Jones. Which is, of course, the name of the new book coming out September 8th that will be on your website, I hope.
Yes.
So how long did you say that you've been with the Gaithers?
The end of this year is 28 years.
And how did that come about?
You know, I always.
And how did you meet Bill?
Okay, so
because it's not easy to meet somebody like that.
No, it's true.
I mean, I look at Bill and
it's still not easy.
Dude, you have songs in the hymnals.
He does.
And you're alive.
He does. Yeah, isn't that strange?
It's very odd.
Wonderful man, and I was doing sessions in Nashville. I'm what you call a session guitarist. So producers will call a group of musicians to play on a record for somebody. We don't call them records anymore. And so
you know why you don't call them that?
Why is that?
Because they aren't.
And so I got a call from Ben Spear, and he said, Bill Gaither's coming in town to produce a record, and would you want to play on it? And he booked me on the date. And I showed up and played guitar, and then Bill produced another record 2 or 3 weeks later. They booked me back. They booked me back for 3 records. And he didn't say much, you know, the whole time. He was very focused, extremely focused man, and not entirely social when he's focused.
When he's focused.
I mean, you identify that. I'm
yeah.
You know, and so if you don't know how to take that, it's a little funky, but he's great. He's brilliant at what he does. So he didn't say much for 3 different dates here, and I finally said, you liking the guitar stuff I'm doing? And he said, oh yeah, as if to say, oh, you're here. You know, he said, oh yeah, just stay out of the way.
Well, he would have told you long before that if he didn't.
No, totally. Yeah, that was the point.
You wouldn't have come back the second day.
And so I was getting to know him. And about 4 months later, I got a call from wonderful songwriter Jeff Sylvie, who was dear friends with all of them. And Jeff said, "Hey, you want to go on the road with the Gaither vocal band? They're needing somebody." And it was very informal like that. They said, "You don't need an audition. We've heard you play, and we like what you do. Just come out and see if it works." And I did a weekend with the Gaither vocal band in Chicago and Michigan, and I forget where. And it was a great weekend, and I played horribly. And they
now you don't just play. I mean, you are
there's a lot going on.
Pulling the triggers back behind the scenes.
So at that time, what I was doing, we were down to the band was Bill Gaither and me. Okay, think about that. Bill played piano. And if Bill went to piano, I had to play bass. And then we would have tracked accompaniment. And I was firing those tracks. Had 2 DAT machines back then. It's called a DAT machine, Matt. It's like a dinosaur to you. And then I had a monitor console, and I was also running the monitors at the time and playing guitar over the tracks. So it was kind of busy then, and it's much busier now.
Yeah. Well,
strange.
SB, by the way, I'm seeing you guys come across the screens and all, but SB is back.
Yay!
And she is talking with you guys. So so SB's answering questions and live chatting while we're.
She's the best.
Yeah. So she is. Yeah. I mean, you know, she is the best. Polly says SB's a genius. You know, so. And she certainly knows where the body's buried. I'll tell you that. And she's been with me like 29 years. So now you say it wasn't an audition.
Yeah. So it was basically
it's like Wes Hampton. Yeah, he didn't audition, but they had him for a month, and he didn't know if he had the job.
Well, and we auditioned a piano player that way, Matthew Holt, that's been with us now for years. He had a 6-month audition, I think. But Bill just said, "Come out and see if you like it." And I went out sight unseen. I rehearsed what they sent me, but I still played it badly because I was nervous. And it's Bill Gaither, for Pete's sakes, you know. And this was what they called the Gaither Trio and Gaither Vocal Band evening. And the vocal band was Michael English, Terry Franklin, Mark Lowry, and Bill Gaither. And then Gloria would go on those dates, and it would be Bill, Gloria, and Michael singing some of the trio stuff. And it was a wonderful evening. And
okay, but there was something.
I was just shaking.
There was something happened that night, and I've never.
You're backing me into a corner.
Yeah, I know. I've never. Because I am. I'm trying to steer you to this story because I've never forgotten the story. Because this is one of the best. Pull yourself out of a fire stories I have ever heard.
But it was
in my
not
life.
intentional. It was strictly
Yes,
a
it
God
was.
moment thing. No. So I'll tell you. And very few people know this story, but now everybody's gonna know this. And Mark, you were there that night. Of course, Mark doesn't remember yesterday, but it's fine. So we were in Chicago. We were at Moody in Chicago. 5,000 people in the audience. This is my second night with the Gaithers. And 5,000 people in the audience, and we were live on the radio on Moody Broadcasting. So I don't know how many people.
Which that was Clear Channel
Oh
at the
my
time,
gosh,
all over the world.
That was huge, and it was probably 5,000 would have been the biggest crowd I'd ever seen at the
Yeah,
time.
5,000 live all over the world. This is Moody Broadcasting. Yeah, I mean, all over the world.
It was a very dignified, wonderful evening, and we'd had a great time. And Gloria had spoken some wonderful words, and we were going to end with "The King is Coming." And they were on these tracks that looked like a little bitty VHS tape, is what it looked like. And it had two players that were identical, and it would take a while to get from cut to cut. And we had to use a track on this because it had all the brass and the big orchestra stuff on you. So his cue would be to just point behind his back. He would point like that to me, and I would hit play and hit that thing. So he did, and I did. And I knew that was going to be our last song, and then we would go into another little chorus of "Get All Excited" that we would sing at the end. So I knew that was going to be after whatever the last song was, and I was going to get all excited ready while we were getting into "The King is Coming." You had to do that, right?
I love this. This is a disaster coming.
Oh, you can see the trains coming, one from the east and one from the west. That's old Bob and Ray bit. Okay, so They do the first verse, and they get into that second verse. I can hear the chariots rumble. And it's just, everybody's on the edge of their seat. I can see the marching throng. And I go to eject the DAT that's in the other one, but I eject the wrong one. I eject the one that's playing. I stop "The King is Coming." And the King never came to Chicago that night. It was as an abrupt of a halt that you've ever seen in your life. And I remember Michael English just going,
And what did Bill do?
Okay, so by that time we're in the key of E, and Bill can't play in E. So he goes over to the piano and he sits down and he's trying to finish it, and it looks like a bad Jack Benny moment kind of happening here. And all the singing is just dying out, and Mark's looking over. He's smiling real big, but he's just going.
Yeah, Mark's right, because he's loving it.
He's loving it. He doesn't know what happened exactly, but it's disaster, and it's
for entertainers, that's the best.
Oh my gosh! And I'm cringing because I can't redo this moment. I can't correct. I've crashed the plane, and the King is not coming now. And so the thing just dies, and Bill moves to the piano, and Bill is a master of salvage.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how he does this. And I wouldn't look up. I was literally shaken. And I thought, well, I've bought myself a Greyhound ticket back to Nashville. I'll never see the Gaithers again. The day the Gaithers died. Okay, so he sings, "There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this," and he's just moving around some chords and stuff and singing some choruses and trying to figure out where he's going to go. And he comes and he won't look at me. And he says, "Honey, pray." And Gloria prays, and I thought, oh my God, it's just disaster, Andy. I can't tell you. Have you ever just had that cold sweat?
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I just slapped the Queen of England on the bottom or something. It's just, oh my gosh. And so she prays a beautiful prayer. And
did she put anything in there about saving your life?
She prayed. Circumstances do not affect that lady when she prays. She prayed. It was great. So she gets to the end of the prayer, and he won't look at me. He did not look at me. He just called "Because He Lives." And I cue that track up, and that hits on a downbeat. And so I've got that track, and I'm trying to get it in there with my hands shaking, And I'm thinking a plumber. I might be a plumber. That'd be good, So after she prays, he says, "We've got a new kid with us tonight." He hadn't introduced me all night. He waited till I absolutely shut it down to introduce me. And he has no recollection of this either. He doesn't even remember this happening. He said, we got a new kid traveling with us, and his name's Kevin Williams. So give Kevin a good hand tonight. And he's still playing. And they applaud me, and I'm going, wow, this is awesome. You're okay, great. Well, glory be to God. And he says, Kevin's the one that stopped that track. He said, why did you do that, Kevin? And now I can't tell you, this was not premeditated, but I just felt like I'd lost it all. And so he said, why did you do that, Kevin? And I said, for the love of God, I don't know. And I screamed it. And those 5,000 people laughed. And when they laughed, and he looked at me, and all of a sudden, the moment was salvaged. It was a different moment. And he said, how sweet to hold. And he started singing Because He Lives. And I hit it on the downbeat, and we got in. And I'm still thinking I'm gone, you know. I thought, well, now I did something I didn't even plan to do. I've done a joke on the Godfather's stage. And he comes around me as they're singing Because He Lives, and he puts his hands on my shoulder, and he says, you're going to work out. This is going to be good.
Wow. And
it was the best moment of reconciliation and forgiveness, and, you know, I mean, because I had really messed up. But, you know, if you know Bill for a while, you know that side of him. And I found it out in one quick concert, and it was the beginnings of almost 28 years on a handshake.
Wow. How awesome.
Great story.
It is.
And I can't believe you remember that, but it is a pretty memorable.
I'll tell you my Dottie West story later. I've told the Blue Plate Special guys, but I'll tell you that story. Kind of the same thing, because I screwed up the whole deal, and she just saved my life in front of everybody, you know. So, hey, we play some.
Well, I brought a guitar. I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah, I love. And last night, one of the great things to me about my life is that I know people like Kevin and Mark and Jimmy Geary and thank you. Oh yeah,
give you a little underscore.
Andy Griffith there, and so my boys have grown up with Polly and I in the living room of our house, talking with people like Kevin and Jimmy Geary's practically their uncle, yeah. and the Isaacs were in the living room one evening. It was right after Thanksgiving. Yeah. They were getting ready to do their Christmas tour, and they just set up in the living room because they had to practice some stuff. And so around our Christmas tree, and my boys are, you know, they're like 10 and 8, and they have no idea. We're watching the Isaacs, which, by the way, is the best Christmas album. I know you've got one, but this Christmas album is the second best that I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. But the Isaacs Christmas, I got to tell you.
So the best. You know, when you hear the Isaacs acoustically like that, which most of us hear everything on a PA system back in the days when we used to have concerts, but to hear them in an intimate setting like that, where it's just them blending acoustically, there's nothing better. That family knows about harmony and about blend and about spirit.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, last night was awesome at our house.
I traded licks with Austin. Austin, your son, played guitar, and I played his guitar, he played mine, and then and we traded licks for about an hour, and then he carved my guitar into a knife. The strangest thing, but he makes knives. He's a cutlerist.
But you take guitar, you're a different level. I mean, because I saw Austin, I was watching Austin watch you.
Because you're the noticer.
Yeah, well, I was trying to notice something. And it was just very, very interesting because he knows what he's watching when he sees you play. And so...
Austin's got these long fingers, you know, that I covet. I got these. That's what God gave me. I got long fingernails. So I got girly fingernails now, you know. But
that's so you can pick. Right?
So yeah. So I use these two like that, and then on electric guitars, sometimes I'll hold a flat pick, and I'll use those two. You talk about Jimmy. Jimmy's a great guitarist, a great singer, great writer, but he's a great guitarist, and you don't get to hear him play a lot of the time. But he's great.
He is. And Jimmy's got that full package, man. He can sing. The songwriting is through the roof.
He is.
So talking about Jimmy last night, and we were talking songwriting, and then we got to talking about one of my favorite songwriters too is Don Reed.
Oh, Don, yeah.
And
Statler Brothers.
Statler Brothers. But, Don, I had Don recently on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I have been reading his book, the Statler Brothers Anthology. It's a new book. It's the background of every song they ever did. But
I think Bill and Gloria wrote the foreword to the book. Even,
they did. They did. Yeah. But you told me about a song that evidently I'm not.
It was a B-side.
Okay, explain this. And play a little bit of it.
Probably my favorite, and of course I'm not a singer, but I appreciate good songs. I'm a producer. I get other people on pitch, and so I don't have to take that hit myself. But I remember having this 45, and I don't remember what it was on the backside of. And
it's amazing you remember the B-side instead of the...
because of this song, and all their songs. Don's an incredible writer, and but this one grabbed me, and so the chorus talked about all of the songs he wrote. So just listen to the words. Don't listen to the way I sang it. But the chorus said, "Some I wrote for money, some I wrote for fun, some I wrote and threw away, never sang to anyone. One I wrote for mama, and a couple still aren't through. I lost track of all the rest, but the most I wrote for you." Now listen to this last verse. There's a couple of verses before this, but the last verse is the payoff. It says, I told you to forget this verse.
The funeral.
Yeah. That day when it's all over, and they come to carry me, and you're walking slow and wearing black with the rest of the family. Tell them when I was born and died, the year and the date. And if there's room for something more, here's what you may say. Some he wrote for money, some he wrote for fun, some he wrote and threw away, never sang to anyone. One he wrote for mama, he never finished 2 or 3. Yeah, he lost track of all the rest, but the most he wrote for me. Yeah, I lost track of all the rest, but the most I wrote for you. There you go, Don Reed. I love you.
Wow. When you were doing that last night, I didn't say anything, but when you were doing that last night, I taped you. I was
awesome.
Yeah, I did, and I
feel violated.
But I got to tell you, I as soon as you were through, we were talking about something else, and I sent that to Don, and I said, hanging out in our living room tonight. Wish you were here, AA, and very quickly he sent back, boy, I wish I were there too. But he got all the words right, probably closer than I can come after all these years.
That's funny. Oh, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Isn't that amazing?
He is such a great writer, and I remember seeing them at a venue, and you probably never played this venue, but Don, if you're listening, I'm from Kentucky, rural Kentucky, and Russell Springs, beautiful town on Lake Cumberland, and we had a venue called Tombstone Junction, which was an outdoor Old West town back then.
Oh, okay.
And the Statler Brothers, they brought in big country acts on Sundays, and the Statler Brothers came in and did 2 shows there. And then years later, I got to lead a band for them. We did a Cathedral Quartet farewell, a Gaither taping at the Ryman. And we had the Oak Ridge Boys and the Statler Brothers. And so the Statlers did, what was that real fast thing? Jimmy Fortune sang the high note about the ark. What was that song?
Real fast. Oh,
no, that's not it. That's
not fast enough.
Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. They did that song, and it was about 200 beats a minute. It was so fast, and and we got done with the song. We ended the song in about 30 seconds, and we finished and hit the last downbeat. And Harold turned around and said, "You run a tight ship."
Oh my gosh! Now, do you write? Do you write? I mean, I know you write music.
Yeah.
But do you write?
Write a lot of melodies, and then most of the lyrics that I write, I've had ideas and hooks for serious things, but most of the full song things have always been humorous stuff.
Okay, before you, because I want you to do a humorous one, but I also know when your daughter Caroline, how old is Caroline?
Oh yeah, so she's 21. Carolina is at Auburn University, 21, and Olivia will be 19 in a few days.
And when Carolina was still in
she's
her
not even
mama's
born yet.
tummy,
Yeah.
you wrote a song for her. It's a fairly short song. And you played it for her every night, and it's just do you mind playing that?
I don't mind at all. So I wanted to write songs for both our children and have it be their song. And this one came to me. I saw Carolina in this beautiful kind of artistic vein is the only way I know to put it. You know how you just get a feeling inside of what a child's going to be, and which is interesting because she's a business and marketing major, but she has a real artistic side. And this is one of those. It's almost a James Taylor feeling kind of thing, but it's a. Here comes the moody part.
Wow.
The pretty little thing.
I don't know. Maybe I would have picked up James Taylor if you hadn't said that. But I definitely hear that. Did you? And I know you knew Steve Warner very well.
Steve's a good friend.
I knew Steve.
Been a blessing to me.
I haven't seen Steve in years, but I was around him a fair amount when I was doing Nashville Now back in the day. And what a great guy. And so he was a big influence. But it's curious to me that you go, now this kind of James Taylor. And do you separate in your mind like how something how would Chet Atkins if you think that was a Okay.
Chet kept that moving bass line all the time and had his melody going, and I can't do that like a lot of these guys. There's a Chet Atkins Appreciation Society that convenes every year, and they come from all over the world, and they are amazing players, and I feel like an imposter when I get around these guys. But it's that kind of thing, and
see, it's curious to me that, I was wondering if you say, well, this is kind of James Taylor, that if you think that when you do other things, like what would a Johnny Cash thing sound like?
So Johnny always had that real thrashing rhythm, and Luther would, had it all against it. And then you always had, when Luther wasn't doing the solo, you had that. You remember that?
Yeah.
Because it always had that train vibe, And so, I mean, that was the essence of his sound.
Do that again.
I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling round the bend,
And that's also, I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. What is our
I'd open all the time. Come here, June.
He has it fine because you're mine. I walk the line.
Brought to you by Just Jones.
You ever noticed you never seen Johnny Cash or what's the talking horse?
Mr. Ed.
Mr. Ed in the same room at the same time. Wilbur.
I never thought
so
about it.
So what about like classical stuff? Because
you do so many different things because you're
Gaither's having so many guests in, and it's like everybody only gets 2 songs. And so you're having to do, so it's like.
Well, in the studio, they'll ask for, different kinds of styles and things. But in fact, this is one that I wrote for Olivia, which is a more classical kind of feel. I'm not playing it very well. Waltz,
Okay, so what about? I'm just trying to think of some different styles. Give me just a style of like a Spanish like a flamenco, a Spanish. Wow. All right, blues.
Well, so you got
like Mississippi blues. Make Polly happy.
It's just swampy, man. So a lot of times, especially in country music, you'll hear the acoustic guitar start. Oh, sure, Shelley said that was awesome. Well, obviously you're a wise woman, Shelley. But there's that kind of blues, and then you got that more Chicago blues. Kind of back porch kind of thing too, and then. If you're moving around states...
Motown.
Oh, so... Well, in fact, I did that. We were at Carnegie Hall when I was doing TV taping, and Mark Lowry came out in a Porter Wagoner suit and had a guitar on. And he sang this "You Needed Me" kind of parody, and I played the guitar behind him. It kind of looked like he was playing, but I was over ghosting that. And at the end of the song, I just went into the James Brown, and he started jumping around. It looked like it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on a Gaither video, actually. And he jumped all around the Carnegie Hall stage while the band vamped on.
That's saying
on an E9.
Because he's done a bunch of. Okay, so end my little around the world on your guitar thing with something. It's not like Southern rock from Alabama. What's Southern rock from Alabama?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. We have to stand up.
I know, it's the anthem.
Yeah, we have to stand up. Do you know? I don't know if you know this, being from Tennessee and Kentucky, but at the Alabama games, they play that, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's singing it, but when they go "Sweet Home Alabama," the whole place goes "Roll Tide, roll." Roll Tide. I mean, it's just insane.
And it's loud.
And what's really funny is to watch some of these guys. Like here at the Wharf, there is a 10,000 seat amphitheater, which is right there, and so they have massive bands and great entertainment here. And every now and then, some band will go into, we'll play Sweet Home, because they're thinking, hey, we're in Alabama, we'll give them a Sweet Home Alabama. So they'll Sweet Home Alabama, and the bands, you can see the bands do this when 10,000 people go, Roll Tide, roll. So it's pretty funny.
That's overpowering. I can't imagine. That's awesome.
So I know we're out of time, and before.
Thank you for having me on the Blue Plate. I thought there was going to be food. It's a Blue Plate special.
Food's afterwards. I just got to make sure you're worth the food. But before,
cheap outfit
I want to have you do a couple of funny things, or just a couple of things. But I also want to say these are my gifts that I got today.
This is the new one back here.
This is the new one, and we've talked about this on the Blue Plate special. This is just awesome. I've already heard this. This is United We Stand. Tell me about this project.
Came out for 4th of July, and it's got a whole thing happening with it now. So it's all the songs God Bless America and America the Beautiful. We did all of the individual branches of the military, all of their themes. And it's my guitar music, and there's orchestra behind it and everything. So it's a passion project for me. My dad was in the Navy for 10 years, and so I have a real spot in my heart for military personnel and for veterans. Well, so we have a thing happening now. It's sold very well up to the 4th of July, and more than we would have even dreamed. And now we have partnered with an organization called Reboot, and they work with veterans all across the nation and veterans who are trying to work through PTSD. And so we are gifting them these projects to be able to say thank you to veterans. And so we'll have it on the website in a couple of days where you can go on there and buy however many units you want to buy. And we'll do download cards for the veterans. And then we match it 1 for 1. So if you buy 100 for 100 veterans, we're going to give them 100 in addition to that.
I know Steve Gatlin was probably the first one to do that.
He was the first one to, he inspired the whole thing.
Yeah, because he said, hey, man, this is so great. Here's some money, just give it to some veterans. And I want to remind me when we're off the air, but I want to introduce you to Louise Thaxton. Okay. We call her Wheezy. Okay. And but she is head of American Warrior Initiative.
Okay,
that does stuff for returning veterans, and it's just awesome. And so you guys need to know each other. And this I love. This is
Acoustic Sunday.
Acoustic Sunday.
That came out a few years ago. It's all hymns played on the guitar, and it's really light. It is something to put on and read your Bible or drink your coffee and just.
You know what I think when I see that?
What?
I think, what are you looking at?
A photographer.
Yeah, what are you looking at? What are you looking at?
I lost my watch.
Is there something down at your feet? Yeah, what are you looking at? But that's the cool thing. Jimmy Urey and I go back and forth on that, right? Because he's got an album coming out, and looking at and I'm saying, you know, look at the camera. Don't you want to connect? I mean, because I look at this, and this is. Yeah, and there you go again. You're not looking at anybody. You're looking, and I'm like, look at. And so Jimmy sent me just like album after album after album after album of people, you know, Garth looking away, George Strait looking over here, Johnny Cash looking down. You know, I mean, and everybody looking away. And you know what I did? I sent back to him probably about 100 Elvis albums. Every one of them's like, thank you very much. I mean, right there, thank you very much. You know, Scylla, bring me my jelly donuts. I mean, she's like right there looking at the camera.
Show the Christmas. I looked at the camera on the Christmas one.
I know, but that didn't prove my point. So
okay,
I
got
anybody that.
Yeah. Let's not go into full disclosure, whatever happens.
Hey, so you remember the one, you got to play just like a, there's two that I want you to play a little piece of, and then we'll leave everybody
songs that you wrote.
No, they're not songs I wrote. They're songs you wrote.
I produced a song you wrote. You and Jimmy wrote a song that we produced on West Hampton, and it is yet to come out. But it's called "Getting Ready to Breathe," and it is a good song. Was that the first song you've ever written?
That was the first song. Yeah. And Jimmy and I, because I had written in fact, I read this chapter on Blue Plate Special a couple of weeks ago. It's a chapter from the Notice of Returns. And Jimmy and I had been in the room and heard Gloria Gaither make a comment to David Phelps. And from across the room, Jimmy and I looked at each other. And after the meeting, you know, we kind of got, and I said, I'm putting that in a book. I'm writing something about it.
What she said was, your hair's too long. Yeah. And that's in the book.
Yes.
No.
But Jimmy and I got together and wrote a song that is from the chapter in that book and from that thing that she said, but the song "Getting Ready to Breathe," and I remember I would like to hear it. I would tell Wes anytime you
Wes
can release
sing it. We've cut the track, but Wes got to sing.
But I remember the one line I remember is when she takes her last breath here, she'll take her first breath there. Yeah, so
it's powerful, and I remember you debuted it in one of the cabins there on the cruise. You said, "Okay, we've written it. You guys come over and see what that's the way songwriters do, right? It's just the most. It's like birthing a baby.
It is,
and you want to show off the little baby, and you can't wait for the first comment or the first eyebrow to raise because it's nerve-wracking until then." And then when everybody goes, "Oh man, that's amazing," you go, "Okay, we thought it was, but okay, good."
Do you know that when we wrote that song, Jimmy said, he said, should we send it to Bill? Should we let Bill hear it? And I like, no, I don't know if I want to let Bill hear it. And he said, no, you need to send it to Bill.
Yeah.
And all right, so I sent it. And, Bill's like, yeah, we'll listen. And, and here's ASCAP a few years ago. The ASCAP Songwriter of the Year is like the PGA Tour. It's a money winner. It's right. I mean, PGA Player of the Year is how many tournaments did you win, how much money. That's how they track it. Well, ASCAP is the music licensing, and so with radio airplay, with music sales, with concert sales, they keep track. And so the ASCAP Songwriter of the Year...
Century.
You just went right in on my punchline.
Okay, where are the podcast rules? I asked to be able to...
I was trying to explain that ASCAP Songwriter of the Year is that, just back up, like that didn't happen. The ASCAP Songwriter of the Year is like the person who, you get Billy Joel, you get, whoever, Elton John, whoever, and then Bill Gaither, well, whoever was, did the most in the year's Songwriter of the Year. But Bill was, now you can tell him.
Songwriter of the Century. Bill and Gloria Gaither, songwriters of the 20th century.
How about that? So we sent him the song. And Bill calls me.
You're mad because I ruined the moment.
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's just ruin a joke. I mean, you can ruin a moment, but don't ruin a joke, man. You got somebody running for a punchline. It's like Mark is with me. Mark is totally with me here. It's like you just stepped on Mark right in the middle of one of his.
Mark would have zoned out moments ago.
That's probably true.
During my song,
probably true. But Bill called back and said, now that's your. That's the first one that you've done. That's with Jimmy. That's the first one I've ever done. And he said, "Yeah, you might want to stop there, but you got a good one."
Yeah, that's good.
So, okay. So
wow.
you did, and I want you to do a couple of these, and then we'll leave. But you did a dinner on the grounds thing.
Oh, the homecoming song. Yeah,
it's the homecoming song.
Well,
play a little of that because I just love the words. It's very descriptive.
Growing up in Kentucky, and I don't know if you identify with this growing up in prison, but growing up in Kentucky, we had I went to a little church with 40 people, and we'd have these all day dinner on the ground. And singing homecoming kind of days. They were just great.
Now you're doing the virtual dinners on the ground.
Yes, we are. Yeah, Zoom dinners. Yeah. Oh, there's nothing like a good old Zoom dinner. Zoom coming. But anyway, I wrote a little song, and it's got that Chet Atkins kind of thing to it. But I'll do the condensed version here. So I went to a church homecoming. There was lots to see and hear. There was preaching and singing and testifying, and the songwriters of the year. There was a wonderful Sunday school lesson, and Sister Beulah sang her song, and the preacher preached a fiery sermon. Naturally, he went a little too long, 'cause it was 1:45 when we finally got done. We all went outside. Now, this ain't no joke, Andy. The women folks had food stacked 3 feet high. There was chicken and greens and corn and beans, and I ate till I was sick. And then me and the boys, we got our guitars, and we went inside to pick, and it sounded something like this. Oh, yeah. Here comes the hard part, right? So if you ever get to go to a church homecoming, get your hair cut at the barber, get to looking real good if you would, and we'll see you at the Wisdom Harbor. All right, there it is. Yeah, right? How about that?
Oh my gosh, there you go. Okay.
I was songwriter of the minute.
Okay, I forgive you for blowing the joke.
Yeah, I got the plug in there.
That was awesome.
I'm commercial at heart.
Awesome. Hey, by the way, Kevin will be headed back to Nashville, but we are going to do another Blue Plate special tomorrow. So 12:15, do another. But this afternoon, Kevin is going to be here, and we're going to be recording the Professional Noticer podcast. So be watching for Kevin on the podcast, and I've got a bunch of different questions. I'm excited about it. So
you are truly the noticer. I have observed that about you, and you know, it's more than a brand and a theme with Andy. He, for instance, I made a strange comment, totally offhand last night in the middle of some conversation went by, that in the mornings I just enjoy sitting there with a cup of coffee and a piece of toast and being quiet for a little while. And this morning, the first words out of his mouth, "Hey, get your coffee and your toast, go in there and be quiet." This is crazy. So
I want to hear and then we're going to say goodbye, but I just want play a verse of Nosy Rosie. I just think this is hilarious. And you wrote the words and music of this. I just think this is just a funny song.
It happened in a little congregation Sunday night. A tiny lady in her 80s, her hair snowy white, stood up to give her prayer request. True story. And with no guilt or shame, she requested prayer for all the sinners there. And she called them all by name. She said, "Let's pray that Brother Ben has strength to make some better choices than spending all his hard-earned money betting on the horses. And Sister Mary Jean's been seen at Brother Orville's house discussing choir arrangements in a very low-cut blouse. They called her Nosy, Sister Rosie, with a Bible in her hand, spreading gossip all she can. She'll meet you at the altar and she'll ask how she can pray. Then she spreads the word of what she's heard. It's the Nosy Rosie way." There's a little bit of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Dude, thank you. KevinWilliamsMusic.com. You can get all that stuff and see the video.
We have been posting the link to it. And so definitely, and we'll talk some more about Kevin's the Patriotic CD.
United We Stand.
Yeah, United We Stand. Sorry, but
it's all right. I messed you up before. I'm trying to redeem.
It's okay. I'm still trying to get over that. But thank you for being with us, and we will see you tomorrow with another episode of the Blue Plate Special. We really appreciate you being here.
I'm glad I was here. Bye. Y'all.